to the Rock Bound Coast and streaming live in HD worldwide at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Today on Good Morning Maine, one person is dead after a carport collapses in Bar Harbor.
Plus, UMaine faces pressure to stop transgender athletes from competing in women's sports.
And state lawmakers are considering a measure that calls for term limits for members of the U.S. Congress. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us on this Tuesday morning. We'll have those stories and a bunch more coming up. But first, to check out that forecast, we're heading in the right direction, already above freezing. It's up to around 38 degrees now.
Yep.
We're expecting to get up into the 40s today, and that's where it will stay for the next couple of days, giving everybody a little taste of spring.
I'll take it.
A lot of melting going on.
It's a nice break.
Yeah.
All right, here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Hey, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Tuesday. We have a small craft advisory that does remain in effect until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are going to be dealing with some active surf until about that time frame, thanks to gusty winds. Low temperatures not very cool this morning. We started off in the middle to upper 30s, at least so far, and maybe some 20s and 30s further off towards the north. We'll see an update later on this morning on those lows. But for now, we had some snow and maybe a little bit of rain passing through last night. That has since gotten out of here, and overall just some clouds passing through today and some wind, and that's about it. Otherwise, the rest of the Northeast, a little bit of rain moving in at this point, but overall we're looking pretty good moving forward in our neck of the woods. Futurecast for today will have a mostly cloudy sky, some rain and snow on the way, and maybe a wintry mix. So that could be rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. Snow mainly to the north. There's that transition line right about in here, and maybe a little bit of rain farther down toward the south. And again, wind's not a big issue today. But again, we are going to be watching for the winds picking up again as we head towards tomorrow. So the active weather is farther out towards sea, and that is why we have the small craft advisories posted at this time. Mid-40s today, mostly cloudy, southwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overall, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing that mostly cloudy sky. Check out these temperatures making into the 40s later this afternoon. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
Thank you, Devin. We'll have a look at that full 5-day a little later on. First thing this morning, a Lowell man is in custody after a 24-hour standoff with police. According to the Department of Public Safety, on Sunday around 4 p.m., troopers responded to a 911 call from a woman reporting a domestic violence situation. Upon arrival, troopers assisted the victim. The department says the victim's husband, 55-year-old Andrew York of Lowell, remained inside the residence and refused to come out. Police say around 2:30 p.m. yesterday, the Maine State Police Tactical Team and Crisis Negotiation Team arrived to assist the troopers still there on scene. At 4:30 p.m., York surrendered. He was taken to a local hospital for evaluation and was later transported to the Penobscot County Jail, where he'll be charged with domestic violence-related offenses. The investigation remains ongoing.
A home in Calais has been badly damaged by fire. Fire crews from several communities were called to a home on the River Road around 4:30 Monday afternoon. Lieutenant Brandon Ireland tells us the building was heavily involved with fire when they arrived on the scene. They decided to fight it from the outside to keep it from spreading. No injuries are reported, but Ireland believes several pets were lost in that fire. The State Fire Marshal's office has also been called in to search for a cause of the blaze.
A man was killed Monday morning after a structure collapsed at a hotel in Bar Harbor. Authorities say it happened shortly before 7 a.m. Our Grace Blanchard has the details.
A Florida man is dead after police say a canopy collapsed on him at the Bar Harbor Regency. Authorities have identified the deceased as 64-year-old Mark King of Boynton Beach, Florida. According to a joint statement released by the Bar Harbor Fire Department, Police Department, and Mount Desert Police Department, King was trapped under the debris when crews arrived. Emergency crews were able to free King, but despite life-saving efforts, he succumbed to his injuries and was pronounced dead at the scene. Details are limited, but police confirmed King was contracted for a project in Maine. The Department of Occupational Safety and Health Administration are leading the investigation. At this time, it is unclear what caused the structure to collapse. The Bar Harbor Police Department and Mount Desert Police Department will be assisting OSHA in their investigation. In Bar Harbor, I'm Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A Dedham man made his first appearance in court on Monday for charges stemming from a shooting that happened over a year ago. According to Bangor Police Sergeant Jason McCambly, 48-year-old Zachary Fawcett was arrested on Friday on Hildreth Street here in Bangor. At the time of his arrest, Fawcett was wanted on multiple warrants. On February 10th, 2024, Fawcett contacted police to report that he had shot someone in a parking lot on the UMA campus in Bangor. When officers arrived, they found the victim had sustained multiple gunshot wounds, and they were transported to a local hospital by ambulance. Fawcett claimed the shooting was in self-defense. After an investigation by detectives, he was indicted by a grand jury, and warrants were issued for his arrest on charges of attempted murder, elevated aggravated assault, and aggravated assault. During his court appearance yesterday, Fawcett pleaded not guilty to all the charges. He's currently being held at the Penobscot County Jail, and with a cash bail of $10,000. He's scheduled to return to court the morning of May 13th.
Over the weekend, the U.S. Department of Agriculture announced it would be withholding federal funding if the University of Maine did not adhere to President Donald Trump's executive order keeping men out of women's sports. Our Alex Schley spoke with UMaine students who say they're confused and concerned about how this could impact their education.
On Saturday, the USDA said it launched an investigation into the University of Maine, citing blatant disregard for President Donald Trump's executive order that aims to keep transgender athletes from competing in women's sports. The review comes just days after an exchange between Maine Governor Janet Mills and Trump over the state's compliance.
So you better comply, because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. See you in court.
In a Facebook Live video on Sunday, Republican Representative Laurel Libby pushed back against Governor Mills, arguing legal action would be too costly for Maine taxpayers.
Their priority is to fight to keep boys and girls sports, no matter how much it cost Maine students.
According to the USDA, the University of Maine receives over $100 million in federal funding from the department. University officials declined to comment on camera, but released a statement saying the USDA has made no allegations of any wrongdoing. They said in part, quote, Maine's public universities will continue to comply with all relevant state and federal laws and cooperate with any compliance reviews to ensure post-secondary education opportunities and high-impact research continue to benefit all students, the state, and this nation. University of Maine students say, however, they feel left in the dark as to if or how they could be affected.
There's been no announcement to my knowledge.
In terms of like the federal aid for UMaine, I haven't heard anything, no.
They're also concerned about what it would mean for their education if the USDA did withhold funding.
I mean, I am in a pretty steep financial situation with this university anyways. Like, federal funding, a bunch of people won't be able to go here anymore.
For now, students say they're waiting for answers as a review moves forward. In Orono, I'm Alex Schley for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
A special election will be held today to fill a seat in the Maine House of Representatives. That seat was left vacant by Democrat Joe Perry, who resigned after being elected as the state treasurer. House District 24 is comprised of Bangor, Brewer, and parts of Orono and Vesey. Democrat Sean Faircloth and Republican Carolyn Fish are both running for that position. Fish is serving her first term as a Bangor City Councilor, and Faircloth has served both on the City Council and in the Maine Legislature. The polls will be open until 8 o'clock tonight.
All right, the time now is 8:08. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, one Maine lawmaker has proposed multiple constitutional amendments, including term limits for Supreme Court justices.
We'll have the story coming up, but first, another check of that weather forecast. A mostly cloudy day ahead today with high temperatures around 45 degrees. We could see some rain, freezing rain, maybe even a little snow overnight, with lows dropping down to around 30. Tomorrow, another mild day, mostly cloudy and breezy, with highs near 43. We'll be right back.
We've got a 100-year-old company here, and it's because of the service, the quality, and the experience. It gets done right.
I think we've been doing it for so long. The only thing that we do, that when we walk into a room, we automatically know how to treat that window. We can take any product that the customer's looking for and make it work in just about any situation that they present us with. So
there's no reason to be overwhelmed when we can help you through it.
We're not going anywhere. We've been around for 100 years.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
You live in vacation land, right? Then get out and vacation, why don't you? And do it in style by renting an RV from Maine Campo Rentals. Fully furnished, fully insured, ready to roll out and explore. Or maybe you have relatives visiting you. Save your marriage, save the hotel expense, put them up in an affordable RV from Maine Campo Rentals. We'll deliver to Acadia and local campgrounds too. Call or visit online at MaineCampoRentals.com. Put away that cell phone and discover vacation land with Maine Campo Rentals in Brewer.
Judge Judy never misses a beat.
This is my playpen.
I get that, Your Honor.
Perfect.
Next is mental anguish.
Yours or mine? It's getting bad for you.
I don't understand why you're so upset with me.
Does this face look stupid to you? Am I doing all right?
Excellent.
That's what I like to hear.
Judge Judy. Weekdays at 6 on Fox 22.
The town of Bar Harbor recently approved a memorandum of agreement that would allow Life Flight of Maine to build a new helipad on the corner of the town's ball field. According to the chief executive officer of Life Flight of Maine, Bar Harbor is one of the busiest locations they respond to. In the warmer months, they utilize the ball field off Park and Main Streets, but during the winter, they're forced to land at a ferry terminal outside of the center of town due to poor landing conditions. Officials say the creation of a helipad would allow year-round access, decreasing transport times for local patients.
These pre-established emergency landing areas, which sometimes just look like a field, but areas that we have vetted and made sure are safe. Any of those places that we can land the helicopter is a portal for entry for patient into high-level health care that they may need given their individual complex medical issues.
Well, according to Kellner, Life Flight of Maine responded to over 200 incidents in Hancock County last year. He says they have been working on this project with the town and fundraising for around 2 years now. The project is expected to cost around $225,000, and they hope to have the new helipad installed by the end of this summer.
One Maine lawmaker is looking to propose 3 new constitutional amendments through what is known as an Article 5 convention. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bichard has more on what the process is and what amendments he is proposing.
Well, Article 5 under the U.S. Constitution allows state legislatures to actually propose amendments to the Constitution rather than just rely upon Congress.
Senator Rick Bennett is the lead sponsor of a proposed bipartisan resolution calling for 3 separate topics to be raised at a nationwide Article 5 Constitution convention. One has to do with the campaign finance reforms, and the other 2 are term limits for members of Congress and Supreme Court justices.
There's an overwhelming recognition that our institutions are failing us and our democracy is imperiled. And I believe we need to put term limits on Congress because they'll never do it themselves. I also believe that we should put 18-year limits on members of the Supreme Court so that we can make sure that there's a steady and expected turnover in the Supreme Court. And under that provision, every president would be allowed essentially 2 vacancies to fill.
Opponents of calling for a convention fear the process could be used to erode our current constitutional protections.
The ACLU opposes Article 5 conventions for the simple reason that there's nothing in the Constitution that constrains the kinds of topics that can be raised in an Article 5 convention. There's nothing in the Constitution guaranteeing that the process for a convention will be fair. And there's nothing guaranteeing that the Bill of Rights, that our foundational civil liberties and civil rights that exist in the Constitution are protected from the proposals that come out of an Article 5 convention.
Proponents say a runaway convention wouldn't be possible given Supreme Court precedent that would restrict the convention to the topics states agreed upon. If an amendment was passed by a convention, it would require 3/4 or 38 state legislatures to ratify the amendment before it could become law.
Currently today, a poll just taken this year, 83% of the voters want term limits on Congress, and it crosses all party lines.
The bill will now have a committee work session before being voted on by the full legislature. At the State House, I'm Corey Bichard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
There are now a dozen approved private paid family and medical leave policies that employers can use as an option instead of the new state-sponsored program. Employers who want to utilize a private program can do so beginning on April 1st through the Maine Paid Leave portal. Patrick Woodcock, the president of the Maine State Chamber of Commerce, says he applauds the progress made on that program.
It's an important milestone for the program. We've seen the private plans to be an integral part of successful programs in other states. We certainly appreciate the private insurers stepping up to participate in Maine's market, and ultimately for employers to make their own decision of whether to utilize one of these options or utilize the state system.
Be good news for a lot of the other employers who don't want to sign up for that state program. They can use the one that they chose for their employees.
Absolutely. It's a complicated one.
Yeah.
All right, the time now is 8:16. After the break, calling lovers of all things maple, it's tree tapping time. We'll see how farms are preparing.
Plus that full weather forecast coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Family owned and operating in the Bangor area for more than 10 years. Crosby's Welding is here to help you. We specialize in steel, stainless steel, and aluminum welding and fabrication. We serve many of the local industries from Maine lobstermen to the commercial trucking industry and everything in between. Fully mobile on-site construction services right down to custom signs and fire pits. Fast, friendly, reliable service. Give us a call today for a free estimate, 974-7815.
I'm Jim with Lowry & Associates. I was contacted by a woman who asked me to help one of her friends who had been hurt by a drunk driver. Not only did he have multiple injuries, he had the added stress of being the victim of a crime. We helped make sure that he didn't have to testify or even go to court. That was important to him, so I made it a priority. We got him a $250,000 settlement. If you've been hurt by a drunk driver, call me. I'm your go-to guy.
Hurt by a drunk driver? Call the twos.
R&K Variety is more than just a convenience store. With delicious homemade food made fresh daily. We offer hearty meals that don't break the bank. Whether it be our delicious chicken pot pie, one of our many savory soups, or a pizza, you can't go wrong at R&K Variety. Looking for a drink after a long workday? R&K Variety is an agency liquor store with an impressive selection. R&K Variety, more than just a convenience store. We're your neighbor, chef, barista, and friend. Stop by today.
I don't know what I did or who I am now, but I will be a doctor again.
Doc, all new, tonight on Fox.
Start your weekend with a slam on Fox College Hoops Friday. Big-time rivalries every Friday, all season long. To the bucket! Fox College Hoops Friday tips off at 8 Eastern.
Well, it's time for one of Maine's most time-honored traditions. Farms around the state are tapping trees to prepare for Maine Maple Weekend.
Our Callie Warren spoke to one local farm to see how they're setting up.
So today we're out in the woods tapping trees, maple trees.
For John and Eileen Williams, it's tapping time. They're starting work on tapping all of their maple trees.
And that tree is tapped.
A process that takes over a week.
We have 3,300 trees that will be tapped. Okay. We have over 1,200 that are tapped right now.
And will produce thousands of gallons of syrup.
1,130 gallons.
It's a labor-intensive process.
We have this fancy-looking drill that we use. And you don't have to have this, it just helps us make a better hole. We try to drill straight in and straight out so it doesn't make an oblong hole.
The taps run sap through hundreds of feet of tubing.
We call it a wet-dry line, so the top one is dry with no sap in it. And the bottom one is a wet line, which carries the sap.
The sap is currently too cold to run, but soon it will be processed through their machinery.
So this actually creates the vacuum that's pulling on all the lines in every tree.
Despite the hard work involved, Williams encourages anyone who's interested to tap a tree and get started.
Even if you only have access to 2 or 3 trees or a dozen trees, It's a really good family experience.
Maine Maple Weekend is just about a month away, and the folks at Williams Family Farm will be stocked up with your Maine Maple favorites.
Maple nuts, maple cream, maple candy, maple cotton candy, maple sugar. Is that it? I don't know.
Maple syrup.
Maple syrup. A lot of maple syrup.
In Clifton, Callie Warren, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
So good.
They weren't kidding.
Yeah.
Over at Williams Family Farm, they have like more maple things than I can imagine.
Really?
They're really good.
Be just a couple of weeks from now with all those little sugar shacks will be bubbling around. The steam will be coming out. It'll be great.
I love Maine Maple Weekend.
Yeah.
I love it. All right, the time now is 8:20.
Let's get a full look at our local weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We have a small crowd advisory that is up until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Along the coast, no issues inland, though, but we are watching for active surf further out towards sea, and that is why those advisories or those wave heights do remain rather high at around 5 to 7 feet. We've had a wave of energy passing through. The winds are going to back off, which means the wave heights will back off, and that is why that advisory will expire later this afternoon. So there's that rain and snow that passed through last night. That's that wave of energy right there. So we'll calm down for a while. Clouds will move back in coming up later on today. Here's another system right here. This should stay to our south. We'll have a little bit of rain and maybe a little bit of snow coming up later on tonight. But this is this system right here. Some rain dragging from the west going toward the east, at least at this moment in time. So overall for today, we will be under a mostly cloudy sky. Another system will be approaching coming up later on tonight. There's the rainfall right there. Temperatures will be falling, so we could be watching for a wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow in some areas overnight. This does get out of here rather quickly as we head towards Wednesday morning and maybe some breaks in the clouds by Wednesday afternoon. And then by Wednesday night, here we are looking rather clear as we head towards Thursday morning, maybe a few passing clouds. So any snowfall will be further off towards the north, where maybe an inch or two could fall in those areas. Of course, not much of anything further down toward the south. Maybe a tiny bit of ice possible in a few spots. Again, it's very minimal, but any kind of ice could be enough to make anything slippery, so just keep an eye on that as you head out the door tomorrow morning. As for rainfall, maybe around 1/10 of an inch or so in some areas before we're all finished up with the system that will be passing through later on tonight. So for now, again, gusty winds won't be an issue for most of today. Later on tonight, not too bad either, but gusty winds do make a return tomorrow, getting up to 25 miles per hour at times. Average high temperature is 34 degrees. We'll do mid-40s today, then lower 40s Wednesday, gradually cooling off with upper 30s Thursday into Friday, mid-30s Saturday, and 20s make a return Sunday and also into your Monday. Mostly cloudy today, highs in the mid-40s, winds backing off out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, some rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. The wind's not bad. It will be calm. We'll also have some areas of dense fog with lows overall in the lower 30s. And then for tomorrow, lower 40s, mostly cloudy and breezy again, and the northwest wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour at times. And let's check out your extended forecast. Rain and snow opportunities make a return Thursday with highs in the upper 30s. Snow chances again for your Friday with highs in the upper 30s. Mid-30s for your Saturday with a chance for rain and snow.
If you're a loved one, my advice is to reach out for help. I trust the people that have been there and got through it. It's hard work to recover, whether it's from drugs or losing your child.
You know what today is? It's Tuesday. But no matter what day of the week, Lowry & Associates is your go-to law firm. If you've been hurt, call us right now.
If you're hurt in an accident, what do you do? Call 222-2222.
Derek!
Hey, Mom, I need to lay low for a couple days. There's too much heat on this car.
Too much heat?
I only paid for a Hyundai Tucson.
Ruth! Listen, Jenna, I need to lay low for a few days. Why?
Deal so right, it almost feels wrong. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event.
Lease an all-wheel drive Hyundai Tucson for $259 a month today.
This President's Day, we're back with Dare to Compare. From unbeatable features to history-making prices. You won't believe how much you can save. Hundreds, even thousands less than national brands. We even have surprise guests.
Who's this guy?
Harrison. President William Harrison? Why does everyone forget me?
So come join the fun and see how much you can save when you dare to compare this President's Day at Bob's.
Starting May 1st, the Bureau of Motor Vehicles will begin issuing the new Pine Tree license plate. If you have a Chickadee plate, it will be replaced when you renew after May 1st at no additional charge. If you have a Chickadee plate number you want to keep, you can reserve it today online by searching Reserve My Plate and paying a one-time $25 fee. With your help, we can provide prompt and quality service to all Mainers. Brought to you by this station, the Maine Association of Broadcasters, and the Secretary of State.
This morning, growing backlash over President Donald Trump's efforts to reduce the size of the federal government. It comes as several key federal agencies instruct their employees not to comply with Elon Musk's latest demands. Nicole D'Antonio is in Washington with the details.
This morning, confusion growing over how federal employees should respond to an email from Trump-appointed billionaire Elon Musk asking them to list their recent accomplishments. The original deadline to respond passed overnight, but now Musk saying failure to respond a second time will result in termination. Members of Congress now taking heat from voters at town halls across the country on both sides of the aisle. Missouri Republican Congressman Mark Alford faced a hostile crowd angry about the job cuts. The lawmaker telling those who were fired that God has a plan for them.
Elon Musk has contracts with the federal government. But he is also, I think, doing an effective job.
Conflict of interest! Show me!
I know there are a lot of people who don't want to see waste, abuse, and fraud weeded out.
Democrats slamming Musk for his approach to cut the government.
This is going to have a profound effect on our government and what's happening. It
about
doesn't mean
all
that
the
you
young
never make
people
any
who-
cuts. It's
Yeah.
how they're doing it
Yeah.
for shock and awe instead of actually making our government more effective.
Meanwhile, President Trump calling the email from Musk genius, saying if people don't respond, they would be sort of semi-fired. Yet at least 3 major agencies have told their employees not to respond, including the Justice, State, and Defense Departments. The Office of Personnel Management says responding to the email is voluntary. Now the head of the largest union of federal employees says the workforce is on edge and very frustrated.
They want to confuse the workforce. They want to put fear in the minds of the workforce that they'll just quit.
Meanwhile, the Department of Veterans Affairs is the latest agency hit by job cuts. Nearly 1,400 workers classified as newly hired are being let go. Nicole D'Antonio, ABC News, Washington.
President Trump says tariffs placed on Canadian and Mexican goods are about to move forward. He says tariffs added to imported Canadian and Mexican products are, quote, going forward on time, on schedule. The president says the tariffs will begin as soon as April. The planned tariffs come as Trump says Canadian and Mexican tariffs on American goods hurt American manufacturing and jobs. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum says she's confident Mexico will reach an agreement with the U.S. by this Friday.
Israel and Hamas are trading accusations of violating the existing ceasefire, as less than a week remains in their initial pause. Fox's Greg Palcott is in Tel Aviv with the latest on why neither side may proceed in further talks as both sides make demands on hostage and prisoner releases.
Israeli tanks headed into the occupied West Bank over the weekend, a first in more than 2 decades. Israel's defense minister saying troops will remain in parts of the Palestinian territory for the coming year as it works to deepen its crackdown given a rise in attacks throughout the Israel-Hamas war in Gaza. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, in an address before the 58th Human Rights Council in Geneva, warned he is gravely concerned over the rising violence in the occupied West Bank and human rights violations in Gaza.
Violations of human rights have skyrocketed since the horrific Hamas attacks of October 7 and the intolerable levels of deaths and destruction in Gaza.
This as Hamas threatens to derail ceasefire deal talks with Israel, saying further steps are conditional on Palestinian prisoners being freed as agreed. Sunday, Israel said it was delaying the release of more than 600 Palestinians in return for 6 living and 4 dead hostages who were returned to Israel last week, accusing Hamas of repeated violations, including what it called humiliating handover ceremonies. Israeli UN Ambassador Danny Danon telling reporters Monday,
"Now we know the truth. Hamas didn't just murder them, they slaughtered them in the most deprived way imaginable."
In a statement from the National Security Council, the White House is backing Israel's decision to delay releasing prisoners, calling the move an appropriate response given the militant group's treatment of hostages. In Tel Aviv, Greg Palcott, Fox News.
And coming up on the second half of the newscast, have you ever had a stroke of inspiration so strong you had to write it down immediately? We'll hear how one small interaction led a local man to write a children's book.
That and more coming up on Good Morning Maine.
Tell the insurance company you mean business. Call Joe Bornstein, right now.
Call the firm that has been getting justice for Mainers for 50 years. If you've been injured in an accident, call Joe.
John Brown first opened his own appliance store in Ellsworth in 1976. With his gift of storytelling, a strong work ethic, and a philosophy of putting others first, John and his wife and children saw the business prosper and grow. Today's third and fourth generation of family and their entire team continue to follow the example set by their grandparents and parents. Brown Appliance and Mattress, High Street, Ellsworth, a family tradition of quality, value, and customer service that always puts you first.
There was no salt or sand.
And because of that, I slipped and fell.
You need a powerful law firm to go after every dollar you may deserve.
I needed to protect my rights.
Call Joe, the law offices of Joe Bornstein.
I never thought I'd get that much.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Tuesday, February 25th, 2025. It's also National Quiet Day. So quiet, everybody.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, you got to read this.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, I'm exempt. This day is about, which is good, I talk. This day is about taking a pause and appreciating the sound of silence. Modern life is really noisy, which can make stress levels rise. This is a day to take a break from all the noise because finding peace can calm us down and help us recenter ourselves. Yesterday, I took a personal day, and I was just like, I just need a moment.
Hey, we all get there. You know, you can get overwhelmed with our busy lives, and everything is so noisy too. Whether you're reading social media or the real life out here in the real world, it's just so crazy. So
yep, I know. And I took a moment, and I was like, I'm gonna have some quiet time and some alone time. I was really social over the weekend, but after it, I was like, wow, I needed that. And I have to remind myself constantly, you need nap time and quiet time just like any kid does as well.
Yeah, I do all the time.
Yeah.
You know, so I appreciate my quiet time.
Yep.
All right, so be quiet, everybody.
Be quiet.
Right. Time for history. It was on this day back in 1836. Samuel Colt patented a pistol with a revolving chamber, becoming the very first of the 6-shooters. You remember those back in the Old West, helped to tame the Wild West.
Yeah, right.
1906, the first tunnel under the Hudson River opened in New York, carrying railroad traffic into the city. In 1919, Oregon became the first state to tax gasoline with a 1-cent charge per gallon. And in 1933, New York industrialist Thomas Yawkey purchased the Boston Red Sox for $125 million. Not much compared to what they're paying these days.
No, right? In 1964, boxing champion Muhammad Ali won his first heavyweight championship by defeating Sonny Liston in Miami. How old would he have been then? His first one?
I think he was still known as Cassius Clay when he took on Liston there. Right. And then he later changed his name to Muhammad Ali. He was pretty young when that all started.
Wicked young. I got to Google that when we go to weather. In 1982, the final episode of The Lawrence Welk Show appeared on television. In 1995, singer Frank Sinatra performed for the last time before a live audience. 1,200 selected guests witnessed his final act at the closing of his charity golf tournament in California.
Wish I was there. I love Sinatra.
I know. I wonder who those 2,500 selected guests were.
I think they were all good friends and celebrities who played in that golf tournament.
Right, right. That makes sense. In 2005, Dennis Rader was arrested for the BTK serial killings in Kansas. He later pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 10 life sentences.
Today's birthdays include comedian and talk show host Chelsea Handler, who is 50 years old. Actor Josh Gad turns 44. You recognize him from various TV and movies, things like that. One of his favorite roles he played for me was the snowman in the animated film Frozen.
I didn't know he was that.
Yeah, he did a lot of, does a lot voiceover kind of stuff too.
Oh yeah, he was also in the recreation of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
He's in the Angry Birds movie, A Dog's Purpose. But I thought he was in like plenty of funny movies too.
Yeah, even if you don't recognize his face, you'll recognize his voice. And finally, actress Emily Blunt. We love her too. She is 42 years old today. So happy birthday to them, and happy birthday to you too, if it's your birthday today.
Yeah, right? It's Pisces season.
Yeah, hope you have a nice and quiet day.
Quiet, yeah. Quiet
Keep it
season.
quiet.
Okay, here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Hey, Craig
Good
and Emma, thank
morning.
you very much. Happy Tuesday. We have a small craft advisory that does remain in effect until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. We are going to be dealing with some active surf until about that time frame, thanks to gusty winds. Low temperatures not very cool this morning. We started off in the middle to upper 30s, at least so far, and maybe some 20s and 30s further off towards the north. We'll see an update later on this morning on those lows. But for now, we had some snow and maybe a little bit of rain passing through last night. That has since gotten out of here, and overall just some clouds passing through today and some wind, and that's about it. Otherwise, the rest of the Northeast, a little bit of rain moving in at this point, but overall we're looking pretty good moving forward in our neck of the woods. Futurecast for today will have a mostly cloudy sky, some rain and snow on the way, and maybe a wintry mix. So that could be rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. Snow mainly to the north. There's that transition line right about in here, and maybe a little bit of rain farther down toward the south. And again, wind's not a big issue today, but again, we are going to be watching for the winds picking up again as we head towards tomorrow. So the active weather is farther out towards sea, and that is why we have the small craft advisories posted at this time. Mid-40s today, mostly cloudy, southwest wind at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. Overall, your hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing that mostly cloudy sky. Check out these temperatures making it into the 40s later this afternoon. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
All right, thank you, Devin. Meeting a stranger can change anyone's life, and that's certainly the case for 79-year-old Richard Spinney.
The Brewer resident was simply enjoying his retirement when an encounter with a man and his dog inspired this Mainer to write a children's book. Our Jody Hersey has more.
Richard Spinney, who served 20 years in the Coast Guard, was visiting one of his daughters in Iowa when he met a stranger and his dog that he couldn't stop thinking about.
I met a guy in the parking lot of the motel, and he had a dog that was kind of small, but up to his knees. And I thought it looked abused. I didn't want to accuse him or anything, so I said, "Your dog looks kind of shy." He said, "Yeah." He says, "I found it in the field a couple days ago." And he said, "I took it to a vet, and the vet didn't give it too much hope."
Spinney thought a book about that stranger, who he calls William, and his stray dog would make a good children's story. So he started writing, and before long, The Adventures of Emma was created and published.
So there's 12 illustrations in that and about 30 photographs that I took.
Spinney's one book led to 2 more stories called More Adventures of Emma and The Adventures of Toby as Told by Emma, which was published in 2024.
I know I'll never be a Stephen King or anything like that, you know.
Spinney admits he's never contacted that stranger who inspired him to become an author later in life.
I probably should tell him one day. I have his email address.
For now, he hopes the bond he writes about between William and Emma will encourage readers to look for the good in others. Spinney's books are available at Barnes & Noble and Amazon.
Actually, if I want to relax, a lot of times I'll pick up one of the books and read it.
In Brewer, I'm Jody Hersey for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
I'm kind of interested now. I've been watching this for the last 3 hours. I want to read it myself and hear what he had to say about this little dog.
I know.
Yeah.
Great name, first of all.
Emma.
I know.
Yeah.
Also, I hope he writes the man who inspired it.
Yeah.
That would be cool to
Let him
learn that
know.
you had inspired the book.
Yeah, that's neat.
And also, too, it looks like it may be for older kids, too. Maybe 4th and 5th grade readers. I don't know. I don't know.
Good for him, though. I mean, it kind of shows you're never too old to do something. I mean, who would have thought he would have started writing books later on in life?
And there's so much value in that. Yep. Very cool. All right after the break, Tyler Cruz will have our sports updates.
Don't go away.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
Don't get cold feet this winter. Stay warm and dry with high-performance footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. With an extensive selection of winter boots rated from 0 to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll find comfort in knowing your feet will be warm in any weather. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear with grippers built right into the sole, with boots in stock up to 6E and size 17 for men and women. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
Your favorite restaurants for half off. It's half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7. Go to foxbangor.com, click on half off dining, and start saving now.
Welcome to my buddy's place, where Maine classics meet a Sicilian twist. Join us in downtown Bucksport, where we're not just serving great food, we're creating a place where everyone feels like family. We can't wait to share a meal with you.
Great restaurants from all over Eastern Maine at half off dining from Fox 22 and ABC 7.
This is Joseph Newgarden. Joseph was conceived to win races. Stopped drinking milk at 2, picked it back up at 32. Good for strong bones. Tell that to his clavicle. Joseph wins even when he loses. This is his wife, his Tuesdays, his hand-eye coordination. He might have the greatest jawline in sports.
He's not that handsome.
And on Sundays, Joseph flies. Welcome to the fastest racing on Earth.
Dreaming of a new garage or custom build? Patriot Landscaping and Construction delivers from frame to finish. Expert craftsmanship, durable designs, and quality you can trust, we get it done right. Call Patriot Landscaping and Construction today. Let's build your future together.
The Super Bowl's coming to town.
This restaurant is festering. I'm amazed you haven't killed anybody.
Kitchen Nightmares, Road to Super Bowl 59. All new tonight on Fox.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Let's start on the soccer pitch. After back-to-back seasons as an All-American and leading Maine to 2 America East championships, the Black Bears are retiring Abby Kramer's number 12. The university announcing on Friday that it will be retiring Kramer's jersey after an incredible career in Orono. Kramer becomes the first and only Maine women's soccer player to have her jersey retired. She's the first women's athlete not from basketball to receive the honor as well. She says it's an honor to be mentioned with the all-time greats of UMaine athletics, but she didn't get here all alone.
It's obviously an incredible honor, super surreal and a mix of emotions. I mean, I think it's really just a testament to the dedication and commitment by the entire program. So yeah, I didn't get here alone. And I've gotten so much support from my teammates, my coaches, the training staff, and my family. So this is as much a moment for them as it is for me.
Kramer leaves behind a Maine career that includes the first two All-American nods in program history, the first conference championship and regular season championship in program history, an America East Striker of the Year award, 2 NCAA tournament trips, and more. But it isn't the accolades that stick with her. It's the relationships she's built over the years.
What stands out for me is like the relationships that we built. I mean, we all pushed each other every day to get the best out of each other. I mean, obviously the wins and the championships mean so much and were great, but when I look back, it's the bonds that we made that I think are going to last.
Kramer, since leaving the program, has signed to play pro soccer in Europe, Portugal specifically. The university is planning a ceremony to honor her, hopefully this fall. Let's go to some hoop now. Off of the Maine high school beat for just a second. Down in Durham, Cooper Flagg once again setting records. He wins the ACC Rookie of the Week award for the 11th time. Flagg surpassing Kenny Anderson, Tyler Hansbrough, and Jabari Parker this week, and his 11 Rookie of the Week honors are the most all-time in ACC history. Those three each had won the award 10 times. Cooper averaged 16.5 points, 10.5 rebounds, 3.5 assists, and 1 block and 1 steal per game over the week, helping Duke to 2 big wins, first over Virginia and later a 110-67 win over Illinois at Madison Square Garden. Duke is now the second-ranked team in the country in the most recent AP poll. And a big congratulations to Ace Flag. Staying on the subject, Ace and his new squad from Greensboro Day School winning the North Carolina 3A state championship this past weekend. Flag had 11 points in the win, second on his team, but he had his fingerprints all over the contest. Over his career now, Ace has won state championships in 3 different states, starting with the Class A gold ball with Nokomis back in 2022. They won with Montverde Academy in Florida, including a national title with the Eagles, and now he gets one in North Carolina. Ace will be suiting up at the Pit with Maine men's basketball this coming fall, so it won't be long until we get to see him in person again. Staying with basketball now, and back up here in Maine, the Mr. and Miss Maine basketball finalists have been announced, with the MABC committee narrowing each awards finalist down to 3. Congratulations to Jameer Rolls out of Noble, Wyatt Benoit out of Thornton Academy, and Gabe Lash from Madomic Valley for being named the 3 finalists for Mr. Maine basketball. And congratulations to Ella Pelletier out of Oxford Hills, Lexi Morin out of Brunswick, and from the north, Madeline Depray from Caribou for being the 3 Miss Maine finalists. Depray will play for the Class B Gold Ball in Portland on Saturday. Big congratulations to all of them, very deserving. Staying with basketball now, it was another great tourney week last week, but the postseason madness is not over. Still 2 more days to go with those gold ball games this upcoming weekend. Those start Friday with Class A in Augusta. The Messalonski boys, they represent the North. They will play Falmouth after taking down Hamden Academy, but those Broncos girls outlasted Camden Hills in double overtime in a classic. They will play Mount Ararat for that gold ball. On Saturday, Class C and D take the Cross Center and Class C girls. In their 4th straight regional finals appearance, Penobscot Valley gets the championship plaque. It was a great tournament for the unbeaten Howlers. They scored over 80 in their first 2 games while taking down Mattanockcook in a thriller in the last game to win the North.
The seniors really need to get that monkey off their back. They've been here 3 times, 4 times now, and so I wanted it so bad for them. I didn't even, I don't care about myself, you know what I mean? So I want them to go win a state championship for our community. So.
In Class D, the Skank Wolverines were the winners for the boys. It's been an incredible run for the Wolverines these past few years. They've got just 2 losses over the past 2 seasons, one coming last year in the regional finals and one the first game of the season this year, so it's been 19 straight for them. Head coach Aaron Hutchins told me afterwards he's happy the guys are just maxing out their season together.
Like I said, man, it's surreal, but on the other side too, it's emotional. I can't stress about these guys enough. I got the best coaching staff in the world. It's a close-knit family, and it's finally surreal to bring something back home to my hometown that we tried winning 4 years in high school. So it's a happy accomplishment. I'm very happy for our players.
Big congratulations to all the winners. We'll try and catch up with as many as we can this week. Best of luck in the Gold Ball games. That is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
Fires, floods, burst pipes. Disasters happen, but the mess they leave behind doesn't have to last. For 40 years, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration has been there to help Mainers get back to the closest to normal as they can. When your property is at its worst, Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration is at their best, and they have been for 4 decades. Put your trust in the Bouchard team. Bouchard Cleaning and Restoration. You keep the memories, we'll handle the rest.
Rowell's Garage has been serving customers in the greater Dover-Foxcroft region since 1946. Our goal is not just selling you a vehicle, but also giving you quality service to maintain your vehicle at peak performance. Browse our inventory online or in person. Whether it's a car, truck, or SUV, we can put you in the vehicle that is right for you. Sales, service, and parts. Rowell's Garage. Doing business the right way every day.
I am born to do this. It is my true passion. I stare into the dark at night and dream about it. On game day, my muscles twitch and my mind races. I live for this. It's my calling. I am an American bucking bull. And this is my sport. The Professional Bull Riders. PBR Bangor. March 7th through 9th. Tickets at Ticketmaster. It's my time. It's bull time.
He lose his shirt.
I've never seen anybody lose their shirt.
I guess deny and delay didn't work today. Now look at him.
Who's the law firm?
The law offices of Joe Bornstein.
If you've been injured in an accident, Call Joe, the law offices of Joe Bornstein, Maine lawyers working for Maine people.
Tell the insurance company you mean business.
Did you know February is American Heart Month? Well, even though we're about to enter March, medical experts are issuing tips and tricks they say you should be following, not just in February, but all year round.
Fox News' Sue Guzman takes a closer look.
While February marks American Heart Month, medical experts say maintaining good heart health should be a year-long goal.
There are a lot of things that we can do to improve our risk of developing heart disease, such as eating healthy, exercising regularly, eating less, getting good sleep.
According to the CDC, heart disease is the leading cause of death in the nation. High blood pressure, high blood cholesterol, and smoking are key risk factors for heart disease. Nearly half of the people in the United States have at least one of these three risk factors. And in 2022, more than 700,000 Americans died from heart disease.
It all starts with knowing what your numbers are and getting them controlled.
Early detection and understanding possible symptoms is critical.
It could be shoulder, back discomfort, shortness of breath, heart racing. If you're having any discomfort from the belly button up that's not going away, to ask your clinician about it.
Meanwhile, health professionals recommend making lifestyle changes when it comes to food we eat.
We live in a time of convenience where we are more apt to grab fast food items or prepackaged food items, but in reality these foods are typically laden with additional fats and sugars and sodium, all which can contribute to the degradation of heart health over time. So choosing whole items such as whole fruits and vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and low-fat dairy.
Seeking ways to boost your physical activity is also encouraged.
Our heart is a muscle. It has to be worked. It has to be exercised.
Sue Guzman, Fox News.
Well, meanwhile, Apple is confirming a major investment in the U.S. Apple says it will build a new factory in Texas by next year. The location to build artificial intelligence servers is part of a $500 billion investment in the U.S. in the next 4 years. The Houston factory will add thousands of research and development jobs. Apple CEO Tim Cook met with President Trump last week. And Fox Business says the investment is in response to threatened tariffs and the need to step up for the transformation to artificial intelligence. Apple will also launch a manufacturing academy in Michigan and will also be spending in California, Arizona, Nevada, Iowa, Oregon, North Carolina, and in the state of Washington.
A lot of culture shapes around these companies that change spaces as well. Yeah. It was California, a decade ago, where you would go from Microsoft and Apple jobs, and it is looking like Texas is going to be the new kind of San Francisco, California.
I think that's where Elon Musk has set up his little base down there too.
Right, so, so that could really change that area. All right, well, America's elite earners are making up for nearly the majority of the country's spending. Data from Moody's Analytics shows the country's richest 10% of earners, which includes people who make more than $250,000 a year, now make up almost 50% of all spending. Economists say the nation's economic growth depends on them to keep shelling out. Data shows spending among upper earners increased 12% between September 2023 to September 2024, while among working and middle-class earners, their spending dropped over the same period. The bottom 80% of earners spent 25% more than 4 years earlier, which barely topped inflation increases of 21% in that period.
And homeowners are rethinking their investments as home maintenance repair costs rise to an all-time high. According to the home service website Thumbtack, the average annual cost to maintain a single-family home rose to a whopping $10,433 last year. And if property taxes, home insurance, and HOA fees are added, that number jumps to over $18,000 annually. Experts say some of the biggest ticket expenses are heating and air conditioning, while other maintenance costs like plumbing have surged due to labor shortages. Other things like roof repairs have also increased because of material shortages. According to Bankrate, only 24% of homeowners set aside money for repairs and maintenance. Sometimes I manage to set some aside, and then it's gone for something else. You know, it's really hard to save these days when you're kind of
I don't know anybody
living
who's
to pay the rent,
saving money.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to maintain a house in Maine too. I mean, our weather is like, it gets really warm and humid in the summer and really cold in the winter.
It's really tough on houses. It just kind of rips them apart.
Yeah, right?
Yeah,
I know.
Literally.
Crazy. Okay, wow. Okay, deep breath. It's quiet day.
Good news is
it's quiet day, remember.
It's going to be mild this week. We'll have a bunch of clouds, but it's going to be warm.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. Here's Devin Biggs with the forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We have a small crowd advisory that is up until about 3 o'clock this afternoon. Along the coast, no issues inland, though, but we are watching for active surf further out towards sea, and that is why those advisories or those wave heights do remain rather high at around 5 to 7 feet. We've had a wave of energy passing through. The winds are going to back off, which means the wave heights will back off, and that is why that advisory will expire later this afternoon. So there's that rain and snow that passed through last night. That's that wave of energy right there. So we'll calm down for a while. Clouds will move back in coming up later on today. Here's another system right here. This should stay to our south. We'll have a little bit of rain and maybe a little bit of snow coming up later on tonight. But this is this system right here. Some rain tracking from the west going toward the east, at least at this moment in time. So overall for today, we will be under a mostly cloudy sky. Another system will be approaching coming up later on tonight. There's the rainfall right there. Temperatures will be falling, so we could be watching for a wintry mix of rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow in some areas overnight. This does get out of here rather quickly as we head towards Wednesday morning and maybe some breaks in the clouds by Wednesday afternoon. And then by Wednesday night, here we are looking rather clear as we head towards Thursday morning, maybe a few passing clouds. So any snowfall will be further off towards the north, where maybe an inch or two could fall in those areas. Of course, not much of anything farther down toward the south. Maybe a tiny bit of ice possible in a few spots. Again, it's very minimal, but any kind of ice could be enough to make anything slippery, so just keep an eye on that as you head out the door tomorrow morning. As for rainfall, maybe around 1/10 of an inch or so in some areas before we're all finished up with a system that will be passing through later on tonight. So for now, again, gusty winds won't be an issue for most of today. Later on tonight, not too bad either, but gusty winds do make a return tomorrow, getting up to 25 miles per hour at times. Average high temperature is 34 degrees. We'll do mid-40s today, then lower 40s Wednesday, gradually cooling off with upper 30s Thursday into Friday, mid-30s Saturday, and 20s make a return Sunday and also into your Monday. Mostly cloudy today, highs in the mid-40s, winds backing off out of the southwest at about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, some rain, freezing rain, sleet, and snow possible. The wind's not bad. It will be calm. We'll also have some areas of dense fog with lows overall in the lower 30s. And then for tomorrow, lower 40s, mostly cloudy and breezy again, and the northwest wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour at times. And let's check out your extended forecast. Rain and snow opportunities make a return Thursday with highs in the upper 30s. Snow chances again for your Friday with highs in the upper 30s. Mid-30s for your Saturday with a chance for rain and snow.
Looking for reliable tree care? Cousins Tree Service offers tree removals, pruning, maintenance, and more. Staffed with a licensed and insured arborist, we prioritize safety and customer satisfaction. Contact the team at Cousins Tree Service for professional tree solutions.
The Furniture Gallery is celebrating President's Day. Camp and Cottage queen mattresses starting at just $198. Revolutionize your space with a cozy recliner. 3 color choices for only $298. Declare your independence from outdated furniture with a sofa chaise for $598. Or a sofa and love seat set, just $798. Get comfortable with the Scott Living King mattress, yours for the price of a queen. And don't miss these clearance deals up to 70% off. Hurry into the Furniture Gallery before these monumental deals are history. The Furniture Gallery.
Foggy's Pub, your place for fun, food, and friends in Palmyra, Maine.
Andy, are you giving it to her?
No, I'm
okay,
thinking.
you're looking. Okay.
Meredith, please. Now I have to start again.
25 words or less.
What am I? Chopped
Liver? With the game on the line.
Where's everybody going now?
Thinking outside the box really pays off.
We want
another
$10,000!
Let's go!
weekdays at 9 on Fox 22.
Looking for reliable tree care? Cousins Tree Service offers tree removals, pruning, maintenance, and more. Staffed with a licensed and insured arborist, we prioritize safety and customer satisfaction. Contact the team at Cousins Tree Service for professional tree solutions.
All right, looks like we talked too much and we are about out of time. If you missed anything, you can head to foxbangor.com.
Don't forget to have a nice quiet day, everybody.
Oh, it's a quiet day.
Well, thank you for joining us. We hope you have a great day.
Today on 25 Words or Less, still working her way towards the 20-episode minimum we make our celebrities do before they're allowed to meet Meredith in person, it's Melissa.